Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today, I will be reviewing Paladin's Faith by T. Kingfisher. This is the fourth book in the Saint of Steel series. It is an adult, het fantasy romance. The description says, Marguerite Florian is a spy with two problems. A former employer wants her dead, and one of her new bodyguards is a far too good-looking paladin with a martyr complex. Shane is a paladin with three problems. His god is dead, his client is much too attractive for his peace of mind, and a powerful organization is trying to have them both killed. Add in a brilliant artificer with a device that may change the world, a glittering and dangerous court, and a demon-led cult, and Shane and Marguerite will be lucky to escape with their souls intact. Never mind their hearts. I gave this book 4 stars. It was very nearly 3, but it managed to win me over in the end. Up till now, I've mostly avoided reviewing sequels for books where I haven't reviewed the previous entries. But I read the first 3 books last year, and I'm not ready for a reread yet. This is a romance series, but unlike most romances, there's enough of a through line that I wouldn't recommend reading these out of order. As a general rule, I like this series. They've all been 4 stars so far, with the exception of the third book, Paladin's Hope, which I gave 5. I like the characters, and I like the romances Kingfisher creates with them. But these have the added benefit of also involving really interesting plots, and the plot is what moved this back up to 4 stars. If you've never read any of these, the general premise is that in this world there are actual gods that preside over various facets of life, and these gods choose their people specifically. Anyone can pray to them, but those that serve them quite literally serve them. I'm pretty sure this is true of their priests, but it's definitely true of their paladins. The series is primarily concerned with the paladins of the Saint of Steel. They are berserker paladins, so in battle they are overtaken by what they call the Black Tide, which gives them preternatural combat abilities but doesn't differentiate between friend and foe. That's where the Saint comes in. He turns them away from killing both each other and the innocent in the heat of combat. Only, at the beginning of the series, the Saint of Steel dies. As a result, most of his followers either died, went on a mad killing spree, and were killed by necessity, or slipped into a coma from which they never awoke. So there are 7 paladins left, and they are very broken. They feel an aching void where their god once was, and there's no longer anyone to stay their hand when the tide takes them. I absolutely love this premise. This series takes place in a world Kingfisher created for an earlier duology, which I have also read, and there's another book set in the world that I haven't gotten to, but in general, I wish she would write more of it. At any rate, in the aftermath of their god's death, the paladins were taken in by the Temple of the White Rat, an order dedicated to helping people. And out of gratitude, they started taking on odd jobs for the temple that require a bit more brute force than the rat's priests are capable of handling. So in this book, Marguerite is on the run from a very powerful trade organization, and she's found a way to make them significantly less powerful. But she needs someone to keep her alive while she sorts it out. The White Rat's people owe her, and the solution she's come up with could also benefit them, so they send 2 paladins, Shane and Ren, to guard her while she sets about her task. The main reason I wasn't crazy about this book is because it's the first one that features either of the women paladins in any real capacity, and I really didn't like the way Shane treated Ren. They both say they're like siblings, but it's the kind of big brother, little sister relationship where the brother is toxically overprotective. There are several points where one of the other characters references something sexual, and Ren, who has clearly led a sheltered life, shows curiosity, which Shane is vehemently opposed to anyone indulging. Also, when a gentleman starts flirting with her, Shane gets unnecessarily aggressive about the idea. At one point, he even thinks to himself that he would fight or possibly kill any man that tried to date her, which is gross on all kinds of levels, but also just mean. He cares about her so much that he doesn't want her to be happy. Real great brother. I really just didn't like this aspect of the story, and it kept coming up throughout the first half of the book when they were dealing with court intrigue to suss out information. Aside from the overbearing protectiveness, the court scenes were fine, but I was glad by the time they were over. Once they left the court, the stuff with Ren mostly subsided, and the plot took the reins. However, that brings us to the spoilers. If you don't want spoilers for this book, now is the time to pause or close the video. For everyone else, let's talk details. Mostly, I want to discuss the second half of the book, but there is one thing from the court scenes that just baffled me. When the White Rat's bishop sends the party off, she gives Shane a letter to deliver to an ambassador who lives at court. We find out this letter is asking about the death of gods. Bishop Bearclaw is trying to find out what happened to the Saint of Steel. The ambassador, Lady Silver, tells Shane that the Saint of Steel was murdered, and this takes him by complete surprise. Why? I just kind of assumed everyone knew that's what happened. It seemed pretty obvious. I also feel like it should have been made very clear at the end of the last book when Piper felt the god's death. But apparently it was a surprise, and that annoyed me. The last half of this book involves running into a demon cult. Much like the gods, the demons in this world are an undeniable fact. There's an entire god, the Dreaming God, dedicated to eradicating them. Young demons are pretty easy to spot, but if a demon manages to hang around long enough, they eventually get sneaky and much harder to catch and bind. Which is exactly what happened with the demon featured here, Wisdom. The group gets captured by Wisdom's people, and in order to protect the others, Shane makes a deal with her. Rather than seeking a powerful host, as most demons would, Wisdom is looking to become a god, and she wants Shane to be her first paladin. The idea that a demon can become a god is just one more very interesting idea Kingfisher has brought to the table, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out. When Shane says that demons can't become gods, Wisdom tells him that some of the gods he knows of did start as demons. I'd be interested to find out which gods she means. I suspect if we get an answer to that, it'll turn out to be the Hanged Mother, whose people have generally been presented as malicious, but there's certainly room for Kingfisher to surprise me. In general, Wisdom doesn't seem like all that bad a demon, so she might make a decent god. The book ends with her taking up residence in one of the other paladins, the other woman, Judith, and the hints that Judith is something very different have me very eager for the next book. But given that Paladin's Faith literally just came out at the beginning of December, and Kingfisher writes plenty of other stuff in between, I expect it will be a while. The only thing about the ending that I wasn't crazy about was Shane becoming a paladin of the Dreaming God. The book makes a good argument for why this was the right choice for him, but on a meta level, I feel kind of like it's a betrayal of the premise. This series is about the paladins of the Saint of Steel, and he doesn't really qualify anymore. I realize his story is mostly over, but it still rubs me the wrong way. I'll forgive it, however, because his story is mostly over, so it hardly makes an impact. Also, I have a very strong suspicion that this is part of Kingfisher moving pieces into place for the climax of the overarching plot. I'm curious to see where that goes. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Paladin's Faith. If you liked this video, I hope you'll watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!